The NDP are the true radicals. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. Do you remember during the Conservative leadership race, every time someone said something vaguely conservative, they would be denounced for it? There'd be article after article examining their policy and showing how it was un-Canadian. Maxime Bernier was pummeled in the media by the media party for suggesting getting rid of supply management, which is a quasi-socialist way of rewarding farmers in some sectors, specifically dairy, poultry, and eggs, but not in other sectors such as beef, pork, grains, pulse crops. None of those are under supply management. Maxime Bernier campaigned on getting rid of that. He was pummeled in the media. Well, right now we've got 4 people campaigning for the NDP leadership, saying they'd love to get rid of capitalism, and you're not even hearing it. That's the result. That's what I take away from watching. Yes, I actually watched the NDP leadership debate in Saskatoon, and I got to tell you, my brain hurts. Where to start? So many bizarre comments. Let's start with Jagmeet Singh, the darling of the Toronto media, because he lives in Toronto, and he is among them. He's one of them. He's one of their peeps. They love him. And he thinks Canada is a genocidal country.
One of the things is we need to confront the Canadian legacy of genocide that has been perpetrated against the Indigenous people, both direct and cultural. We need to name systemic inequality and systemic racism. We have to call it out. It's offensive to me that we have a federal government that continues to perpetuate this myth that Indigenous lives don't matter.
Now, that answer was in response to a question about dealing with Indigenous peoples across Canada. Look, I guess I shouldn't be shocked anymore, even though I find it a shocking answer. I shouldn't be shocked because it's in vogue on the left these days to denounce Canada's history, to denounce our past, to constantly say that we're a racist country that's done nothing good for anybody and that we need to just start all over. Look, here's the reality. All the best minds of the day, all the progressive experts of the day said residential schools was the way to go. Now, they were wrong. They were absolutely wrong. It did not turn out well for many, many, many people. And people wonder why I am skeptical of always relying on the experts. Now, where else did the NDP debate go off the rails besides calling Canada a genocidal country? Well, in French, the candidates were asked, what area of the economy does the government not currently run that it should? Now, my answer to that question would be nothing. They should be running less of the economy, not more. But that's not what Nikki Ashton said. She had 3 specific areas, starting with the government should be running a bank.
Je dirais que, en fait, notre campagne a déjà proposé la propriété publique, les sociétés d'État dans 3 secteurs qui sont importants de notre économie. Le secteur bancaire, on a mis de l'avant un propos sur une banque postale, reconnaissant que oui, il faut s'attaquer à la corporatisation dans ce secteur.
That's right. The banks should be run by the government. We already have credit unions, large and small, across the country. We've got big banks across the country offering competitive services, but she wants the post office to run a bank. Where else does she want the government active in the economy? She wants them to take over the green energy sector, and she wants them to take over buying your medication. She wants a crown corporation to buy up all the drugs so that it can be a cheaper price. Because waiting for seeing a doctor under the government system isn't bad enough. Now we're going to have to wait for our pharmacists to wait for the government to buy the meds that we need. I don't see this working out very well. But again, we shouldn't be shocked that they say this. At one point in the debate, the NDP leadership candidates were asked this question about an old document from the founding of the CCF. It's called the Regina Manifesto, that pretty much called for full-on communism in Canada.
The Regina Manifesto, which was adopted by the founding convention of the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation in 1933, launched the forerunner of the modern NDP. What's one piece of that vision that hasn't yet been realized that you think remains relevant and a priority today?
Okay, let me read to you just one portion of the Regina Manifesto that all of these candidates, Charlie Angus, Guy Caron, Jagmeet Singh, and Nikki Ashton, all praised as a great document. What does it say? No CCF government will be content until it has eradicated capitalism and put into operation the full program of socialized planning, which will lead to the establishment in Canada of the Cooperative Commonwealth. Isn't that brilliant? Let's just move to a complete socialized planning system. It's worked so well in Cuba, in Russia, in Venezuela. Think of the weight loss benefits. We could deal with obesity. Venezuela has socialism, a socialized planned economy, and people down there have lost, on average, 19 pounds over the last year because they've run out of food. Jagmeet Singh, again, was one of the ones that wanted to show up and really show his socialist bona fides, though. He isn't content with adding another social program to look after the poor. He isn't content with saying we need to expand this program or that or start a new one. He wants full-on income redistribution. If you're well off, give up your money now because someone else needs it.
We have a responsibility to stand up for redistribution. People have wealth, and they need to give that wealth to those, they need to transfer that wealth to those who are living in poverty right now. That's a fundamental principle. Income transfers are very different than social programs. I believe in universal, publicly delivered health care, farmer care, daycare.
Now, I look at all of these candidates, and I think they're all radical. Guy Caron ends up looking very moderate compared to the rest of them, and I think he's batshit crazy lefty. But he looks moderate next to these three. But there was an interesting question near the end of the debate, or about midway maybe, and it asked, would you work with Justin Trudeau to stop Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives from taking power? Guy Caron punted on it. He didn't want to commit to that. Nikki Ashton punted on it. Jagmeet Singh punted on it. Only Charlie Angus was willing to say he's not going to work with the Liberals just to keep the Conservatives out of power because he sees them as the same thing.
I didn't get into politics to carry the plates for the Liberal dinner. And I'm not going to sit here in our debate and say, oh, well, we would help the Liberals. No, we are going to be a social democratic government because our values are what's needed in this country.
Well, at least that's an honest answer from Charlie Angus. Look, the NDP is in the middle of a leadership race. Yes, I know they're the third party, but when the Liberals were the third party, they had all kinds of attention paid. What you won't hear in any of the coverage that you get of the NDP leadership race is how radical their policies are. Why? Because as I've told you for years, journalists are far more likely to agree with New Democrat policies, they're far more likely to be liberal, but they're more likely to agree with NDP socialist policies than anything coming from the Conservatives. The NDP are showing their socialist roots. It's still in their constitution that they're a socialist party, and this week in Saskatoon, the four people looking to lead this party committed to a socialized planning economy by praising the Regina Manifesto. Know who you're looking at, know who you're going to vote for, know who your neighbors are going to vote for. And hey, do me a favor, spread the word on this because people aren't going to be hearing this elsewhere. Post this story to Facebook, post it to Twitter, and let folks know the NDP's true colors. It's not really orange, it's red. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, make sure you never miss another one. Again, click here to subscribe.